Here is a small dare. For the next few minutes, try not to yawn. That is the whole game. Just keep your jaw shut and your mouth still while you watch. There is a decent chance you have already lost. That a little pressure is climbing the back of your throat right now because somewhere in here your own body is going to overrule you. About half the people who start this video yawn before it ends, and most of them are not remotely tired. The reflex does not check with you first. You will not decide to do it. You will not weigh it up and agree. Something quicker and older than your choices catches the yawn. The sound of one, the sight of a stretched open mouth, even the plain idea of it, and fires it through your muscles while the deciding part of you is still asleep at the wheel. So why is a yawn so catching? Why can one person across a quiet room set off a stranger who was wide awake? And underneath that sits an even older puzzle nobody has fully cracked. What a yawn is actually doing in the first place. Start with how absurdly little it takes to trigger one. Robert Provine, a neuroscientist at the University of Maryland, spent years through the 1980s and 90s on research that sounds almost like a prank. He showed people yawns and counted who cracked. A video of someone yawning set off around 55% of viewers inside 5 minutes. The audio alone, with no picture, worked. So did reading about it, the very thing pulling at you as you follow this sentence. He found that closing your eyes and only picturing a yawn was enough to start one. Hardly anything else your body does goes off this easily from nothing but a suggestion. For a long time, the favorite explanation was a flattering one, that catching a yawn is a sign you can feel your way into other people. The machinery behind it seems to point that way. Deep in the brain sits a set of cells often called the mirror network, which fire both when you do something and when you watch someone else do it, as if your brain quietly tries the action on. With fMRI scanners, researchers have watched a region called the right inferior frontal gyrus light up the instant a person sees a yawn and feels the urge arrive. Your brain runs a silent copy of the other person's yawn, and the rehearsal escapes into your own jaw before you catch it happening. If that is right, then catching yawns should rise with empathy, and for years the clues fell into line. Newborns do not catch yawns at all. The reflex flips on around age 4, the same window when children first work out that other people carry their own minds and feelings. Contagious yawning seemed to arrive on the very schedule that empathy does. The autism research sharpened it. In 2007, Atsushi Senju and his colleagues, writing in the journal Biology Letters, showed yawning videos to children with autism and children without it. The typically developing kids caught the yawns. The children with autism mostly did not, even though they yawned normally on their own. A later study added a twist worth keeping. Once researchers made certain those children were looking at the eyes on the screen, most of the gap vanished. They were not missing the feeling. They were missing the face. The coldest version of the clue came next. The people who catch the fewest yawns tend to be the least warm. In a 2015 study at Baylor University, adults scoring high on the unfeeling, manipulative traits of psychopathy were clearly less likely to catch a yawn than warmer people. A reflex you cannot fake or force seemed to be reading, quietly, how tuned into other humans you really are. Then it jumped the fence between species. In 2008, a team led by Ramiro Jolie Mascheroni at Birkbeck, University of London, sat ordinary pet dogs in front of a yawning person. 21 of the 29 dogs yawned along. When the same person just opened and closed their mouth with no yawn, not one dog stirred. The dogs caught human yawns at a rate near 72%, above the 45 to 60% in people and the 33% in chimps. Whatever rides inside a yawn was old enough to cross from a human to the dog curled at their feet. It is a warm, generous story, and you can see why people loved it. Catch a yawn, and you are wired to feel along with the bodies near you. The trouble is the story keeps coming apart under testing. When the Duke University School of Medicine ran the largest check yet, following 328 people, the strongest predictor of who caught yawns was not empathy at all. It was age. The older a person was, the less they caught, while empathy, intelligence, energy, and time of day barely registered. In 2017, Andrew Gallup and Jorg Masson reviewed the whole field and gave a flat verdict. That contagious yawning does not yet equal empathy. Even the dogs let the theory down. A 2020 experiment found they caught yawns from total strangers just as readily as from their own owners, the exact opposite of what a real bond should produce. So the social story buckles. And that pushes the question back a step. If a yawn is not mainly a small act of fellow feeling, what is it even doing? And the answer most of us were handed is also wrong. For generations, people assumed you yawn to grab oxygen when your blood runs short. Provine tested that directly in 1987. He had volunteers breathe pure oxygen, then air spiked with extra carbon dioxide, then plain air, half an hour each. Their breathing rate moved. Their yawning did not. He even had them exercise until they were breathing twice as fast, and the yawns held flat. Whatever a yawn is for, refueling oxygen is off the list. The explanation that holds up points to heat. Andrew Gallup at Princeton made the case that a yawn cools an overheated brain. The big inhale and the wide jaw stretch drive cool blood up into the skull and push warm blood out. In 2007, he showed the effect runs like a dial. With a warm pack on the forehead, people caught about 41% of the yawns they saw. With a cold pack on the same spot, that fell to 9%. And when he had them breathe through the nose instead of the mouth, not one caught a yawn. His team counted yawns in 160 people around Tucson across a year and found far more in winter than summer, and almost none on the days when the air outside was hotter than the body. That cooling job shows up in the animals too. Fish yawn, snakes yawn, birds yawn. In 2021, a team in the journal Communications Biology measured yawns across more than 50 species of mammals and birds and pulled a clean rule out of the numbers. The bigger the brain and the more neurons it holds, the longer the yawn runs. A mouse yawns for about a second. A human tops the chart at roughly 6.5 seconds. A long pull for a big warm brain with a lot to cool. And it begins long before anyone could teach it to you. In 2012, Nadja Riceland at Durham University used 4D ultrasound to track 15 unborn babies, scanning each one monthly from 24 to 36 weeks. She found that fetuses yawn in the womb. Real yawns she could tell apart from plain mouth movements, with more than half of those early openings being full yawns. No tiredness. No one to copy. The solo yawn is among the oldest things a body knows how to do. Switched on weeks before a first breath of air. Put the two halves together, and a colder idea comes into view. Maybe the contagious part was never about tenderness. Maybe it is a primitive reflex that locks a group into one shared state, the way a flock of birds banks and turns as one with no leader giving the call. When a single animal in a resting herd yawns at dusk, the yawn ripples outward and tips the whole group toward sleep at the same moment, or toward alarm if something is wrong. No warmth required. Just an ancient channel running body to body, holding a crowd in time. You may be catching yawns for a reason far older than caring about anyone. A layer of you laid down long before empathy ever existed, still moving with the herd. Which leaves you with an odd truth about your own borders. You like to think of your body as sealed and private, run by you, doing only what you order. The yawn steps right over that line. A stranger a few seats down on the train opens their mouth, and seconds later, your own jaw answers without checking in. You sent a signal you never meant to send, and took one you never agreed to. The most ordinary thing your face does all day turns out to be a small open door left ajar between you and everyone nearby. Soon someone close to you is going to yawn, and now you will feel the pull at the back of your throat and know exactly what just reached across the gap to get you. So tell me in the comments, did you make it through without yawning? And if not, what got you first? The word, the faces, or only the thought of it?